This is Sophia of the TV show Caleb and Sophia. It's Jehovah's Witness childhood propaganda designed to appeal to kids 10 and under to try to brainwash them into the religion. Usually there is a primary message and a secondary message with these videos. They're both propagandistic. This entire series is propaganda designed to brainwash kids for real. So I wanted to watch this new trailer that just came out by them. Again, it's a trailer, so it's a little bit shorter. We're going to get a longer version I'll be covering at length. This one is like a minute long total. And the title of it is, You Are Precious to Jehovah. The real message behind the video is that you shouldn't be making friends with outsiders. Ultimately, that's the point they're trying to get across. Now, this is by no stretch of the imagination the only one that they've produced on this subject. So I want to take a look at a couple of others and show you what we're dealing with.
We see throughout the gospel accounts that those who chose to befriend Jesus gained the best friend possible.
So anyways, let's just start out with this You Are Precious to Jehovah episode and see what happens. Check this out. This came out in October 2023, I believe.
Hey, Zoe. Oh.
Zoe, the black girl here, is friends with Sophia, the Jehovah's Witness. Other kids at the school can clearly see she's getting into Jehovah's Witnessism, or whatever you want to call it, and they're trying to kind of pull her out of it, because naturally that's what non-Jehovah's Witnesses do. They want to ruin people's lives and destroy Jehovah's people, right? So that's how it goes, I guess.
Hey. What you doing?
I'm just about to meet
Sophia. Why do you hang out with her?
Because she's trying to become a Jehovah's Witness.
Does it bother you that others think you're different? What do you mean?
What do you mean? As if she doesn't know. She knows exactly what it means. People think you're fucking weird. That's what it means. As if Sophia has not been ostracized terribly. I mean, this girl isn't even a Jehovah's Witness, and she's being ostracized by everybody. Trust me, take it from somebody who grew up this way. It ostracizes you, okay? I got a billion stories. Let me just give you one. Every Valentine's Day, kids create these little pouches and hang them on the side of their desks, right, when you're in elementary school. And kids go around and write Valentines for everybody and put them in their pouches. Guess who had 2 thumbs and wasn't allowed to participate? This guy. It sucks being separated from your community so completely and thoroughly because they're not supposed to be your community. Sophia knows this full well. And this girl on the right is starting to experience it for the first time and realizes how absolutely miserable it is to experience something like this. That was a mild example of what I experienced. Every time there was a birthday celebration, every time somebody said the Pledge of Allegiance, which was every morning, by the way, every time anything political or celebratory or anything took place, I was not allowed to participate.
I don't know. I gotta go.
This is her brother next to her, Caleb. So Caleb and Sophia, they got new character models that I personally think look like trash, but that's just me. I like the old ones better. Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video.
You should hang out with us, not that loser.
People aren't always nice to others they think are different.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing about this situation. That's really not how this is playing out. I'll tell you how this is playing out as somebody who was in this exact situation. The Jehovah's Witnesses are telling the kids, don't be friends with them. Don't hang out with those losers. Hang out with us, the Jehovah's Witnesses, instead. They flipped it. It's the exact reverse of what they're portraying here. But they have to play up this persecution complex bit because they want Jehovah's Witnesses to think that they're the most persecuted minority on planet Earth. It's ridiculous.
Not that loser.
People aren't always nice to others they think are different.
That's true enough, I guess.
Hey, Zoe. Aren't you coming?
And now she's faced with a decision. She going to abandon her religious principles, or is she going to stick by her side? I don't know what "you are precious to Jehovah" has to do with anything at all coming soon. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the subject, which is obviously the primary message: don't worry about bullying. And the secondary message: don't hang out with outsiders. This is not the first time that Jehovah's Witnesses have talked about this. There's like a whole sub-series within this main series of Caleb and Sophia talking about not making friends with outsiders. So just take a look at a couple little sections here. This is lesson 47, who should be my friend? I think the answer is obvious here, only Jehovah's Witnesses. The reason this is a problem, which they're going to illustrate in a second, is that there are anywhere between 20 and 150 Jehovah's Witnesses per congregation, usually. My congregation started at about 80 when I moved to it, and had 140 by the end, I believe. But at no point were there kids my age that could hang out with me, or that wanted to. I think there are a couple my age, but I just didn't talk to them much, because we didn't click. So they're going to portray that situation here. Check this out.
We see throughout the gospel accounts that those who chose to befriend Jesus gained the best friend possible.
So the girl being shown here, star earrings, she's probably, 15, 16 maybe? How old is Sophia? Sophia's 9, 10 maybe? I mean, there's a big age gap between these two. And the thing is, with age gaps, there's a cultural gap too. You just don't click in the same way that somebody your age clicks with you. But you know what? If you have nobody else in the congregation, what are you supposed to do? You can't make friends at school. That's not allowed.
Friend possible.
Hey there. Oh, hey.
As an older Jehovah's Witness, you're supposed to take an interest in the younger ones, too. Bring them under your wing and all that, you know.
Oh, you like to draw? I like your notes. Really cool.
Mom taught me. Pictures help me remember.
I gotta tell you, man, if I learned anything from being inside the religion, it was two things. A, I learned how to do public speaking. They had this red book that you could get if you wanted to move up in the religion. And this red book taught you everything about public speaking, maintaining eye contact, building an outline, the whole 9 yards. And I read that thing cover to cover. I always wanted to be a public speaker. And B, I learned how to take notes like mad. I seriously looked at different styles of note taking, and I could keep up with somebody who was talking at full speed. I could take down everything that they said, or at least the sentiment of it.
Me too. So, looks like we have a talk together.
Yeah.
I'll get in touch to practice soon.
Lydia, we're leaving.
Well, I gotta go. See you later, Sophia.
Okay, now she's at school.
Hey, bro. Hey, good to see you.
Showing friendships outside the religion, right? Something you're not supposed to have as a Jehovah's Witness.
I'm glad I was on your team.
My favorite thing was the safari treehouse.
Yeah, it had all the cool jungle animals on the wall.
Now she's feeling left out. She's listening to them describe something she couldn't take part in. Presumably because she's a Jehovah's Witness, right?
I didn't think your team was gonna make it.
I love my prize.
You got a prize? We all did.
What was it, like a science fair they went to, I guess, or something? Oh, now this girl feels kind of awkward because she went too, and that's not something Jehovah's Witnesses are supposed to do.
Okay, kids.
Man, I know that feeling all too well, for real. I know that. I know that look in her eyes. I know the feeling in her heart right now. It hurts. It is so sad. You know what's even more sad? Jehovah's Witnesses depicted that feeling on her facial expression flawlessly. They know what their commandments do to people. They know how it makes them feel. And they still do it.
Settle down. Time to get started. We have a lot to talk about today.
Oh my God, everybody went.
Before we begin, for those of you that participated in the science club this weekend, we will be having another camping trip. But only the ones with the highest score on the math project.
Okay, I understand. It was a science club, right? You're not allowed to take part in any club activities because it's extracurricular. You're supposed to go to school as much as legally required and get out, and that's it. No clubs allowed. And also no sports allowed to any degree ever. I never played football a day in my life except for like maybe twice. I don't even remember how it's supposed to be played, honestly. I'm sorry. I should probably add the reason is because some elders in some congregations view football and chess as military games of strategy, and we should learn war no more, quote unquote. They discourage people from playing football or chess. Sometimes some Jehovah's Witnesses will deviate a little bit, but yeah.
Ones with the highest score on the math project will be selected to go. More on that after class.
Hey,
Now today,
Sophia,
we will
we need you in our club. You're good at science. We have another trip coming up.
So she's actually actively being invited to join this. They want her in it. And she's wrestling with the decision. Should I make friends with outsiders? I mean, remember, the title of this was, what was the title? Who Should Be My Friend is the title. Who should be my friend?
Hey, Sophia, come with us.
She's forming friendships right now. As a young Jehovah's Witness in school, you are allowed to have acquaintances and keep it on like a professional level. But your whole goal should really be to preach to these people.
It was when I was at that office job in the city. It was just coffee as usual.
Karen, we're making some coffee. Did you want some?
Oh, I love it. The good stuff, right?
Oh, yes.
Thanks. Boy, I can smell it. I was excited about the chance to give a witness. Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Is that for me?
I know how you like it.
Ooh, thank you. From time to time, we talked, kept the conversations brief. And that was it.
Hey!
But over time, the conversations grew. And husbands and family were often the hot topic. And everyone had a viewpoint.
If I may, there's some things in the scriptures that I think...
I still thought I could give a witness and actually teach them something about Jehovah. But I had let it turn into regular, unnecessary association that was spoiling my useful habits. And that had to change. I started keeping things friendly, but professional. I was more cautious, as I would be if they had invited me out, or if a male coworker had invited me to join him for a break.
So did that work?
It did, and I was so relieved.
And so was I.
Jehovah gave us the good morals and habits that we have. Exposing myself to bad association was being disloyal to him.
Spread the good word. This is your territory. Some of these kids may live behind gated communities where they wouldn't otherwise be able to be reached by anybody. It's your responsibility to teach them about Jehovah's Witnesses.
So, anyway, all the kids had badges and prizes and stuff. And it sounded like a lot of fun. And it seems like they really need my help.
I see.
Oh, you see what's wrong with the car?
No, I wish. No, I see why you want to be in the club.
You do?
Of course. We all want to have friends and do fun things. Please, would you mind moving the light over here?
We all want to have friends and do fun things. But there's a but coming. You ready for it?
Right there. Thank you.
I just wish I had some kid friends.
Jehovah wants you and me to have friends.
No, he doesn't, obviously.
But the question you need to ask yourself is, who should be my friend? Let's talk about it at our next family worship.
This is sad, man. Actively discouraging children from having friends that are outsiders. Does it get more depraved, really?
How about you go do some research on Martha? And I will tell Caleb too. And then we can come back together and talk about it as a family.
Yeah, this is how Jehovah's Witness household's supposed to operate. Learn about it and read the books and all that other junk. They weren't really pushing family worship very hard when I was in the religion. It was mostly just book studies and regular meetings on Wednesdays. So Monday book study, Wednesday evening a meeting, and then Sunday morning we had a 2-hour meeting. So we were doing something for Jehovah's Witnesses every single day. In between those days, we were studying the books that they wanted us to read at those meetings.
Sophia, are you ready?
Yeah. Martha, a Jewess, the sister of Lazarus, and Mary.
What a weird term for a Jewess? Is that what they called her? A Jewess? Why don't you could just call her Jewish?
They lived in Bethany,
A village about 2 miles away from Jerusalem.
which was probably Jesus' home base when he came down from Galilee.
Martha liked to cook.
Yes, she did.
And she would cook for Jesus and all his disciples when they would visit.
Wow, that would have been a lot of food.
And money. Very expensive.
Yes, and a lot of work.
But if they worked together, they'd make it a success.
However, some of their friends felt differently about Jesus.
God, dude, the animation on this is flawless, really. Look at this. Just mad respect. How did they do this? This is truly incredible. Did they use Blender? I'm just blown away by how good this animation is, honestly. Watch this pouch fall into water. Pixar level quality, man, I'm telling you. So good.
Martha makes the best apricot cakes. It's just a fact.
You've always praised me too much, Talia.
Well, if it gets me more apricot cakes, I will continue to praise you.
Oh, Talia, did you hear? The teacher Jesus, he's coming back to visit.
The man from Galilee? Are you hosting him again?
Yes, I am. Actually, it's tonight.
I've heard a lot of talk. The Pharisees in Jerusalem, they don't approve of that man.
Okay, couple things to mention on this. Number one, the Pharisees were described in one of the Bible accounts, I think Mark maybe, as Jesus' primary adversary. And in another gospel account, maybe Matthew, it was the scribes that were viewed as the primary enemy to him. The reason is because the scribes were just a group of people, one per town, who could sign land deeds and officiate weddings and stuff. They were like the administrators, kind of like a county clerk today, I suppose. And the Pharisees were legal experts, I guess you could call them, but the law and religion were inextricably linked. So they were experts at understanding the commandments and the Torah and all that other stuff. The reason that they were viewed as enemies of Jesus or adversaries is because they were capable of reading, which wasn't super common at the time. Jesus was capable of reading, supposedly, but most people weren't. There's a 90% illiteracy rate in the area at the time. So they were viewed as adversaries because they knew the law like the back of their hand, the scribes and Pharisees, and were capable of challenging Jesus' interpretation in a way that nobody else was. Now, the Pharisees were actually a movement of Jewish people who wanted to integrate into the culture at the time. I think it was a Roman culture. So they wanted to be a little bit less separated from society, if you will. Anyway, eventually the Pharisees went on to become the Jews that we know today. The Jews we know today are descendants of the Pharisaical movement, also known as Rabbinic Judaism. But that's neither here nor there. The second thing I wanted to mention here, she's being portrayed as an enemy of Jehovah's Witnesses or of religious people or whatever. She is setting out to ruin what they want to do. She's setting out to trick them or to stop them or to turn them in or whatever. As you'll see in a little while, she does turn them in. That's not every non-Jehovah's Witness. They're desperate to conflate non-Jehovah's Witnesses with adversarial, apostate, evil people. Don't fall for this trick conflation here. Not everybody out there is trying to force you out of the religion by turning you in and stuff like that. Personally, I believe in religious freedom, and that includes Jehovah's Witnesses' right to practice their religion the way they see fit. I draw the line at compelling somebody to remain a part of it, of course. The fact that they're trying to isolate their members this way is part of that equation. So I don't stand for that. But I don't want them to be abolished as a religion entirely. I want them to stop being extremists. And I'm probably the biggest apostate out there in their own mind, in their own words. Anyway, those are the two primary things I want you to keep in mind as we continue listening to this farcical, nonsensical breakdown.
I am not sure it's such a good idea for you to be known as his friend. Okay, well, I guess I better be getting home. See you two later.
What, is this Jesus' little posse, I guess, that's walking through the town here? I think it is. She just spotted him.
Martha, Jesus is here.
He's hugging people. They're looking out the window so excited. Look, I've seen that look in people's eyes before. You see that look they're giving Jesus? And you're telling me the dude was a virgin till death? Come on. I'm not convinced. Ooh boy, I've seen that look too in somebody's eyes when they're staring at another dude. Oh yeah. I've seen that look too. Tell me the dude was a virgin when he died. They're drinking and being merry. And of course she's prepping food for them and working hard, sweeping, doing everything she can to make it better. And he's teaching. She's listening. He approaches her alone in a quiet, dim room with candles lit. And he, as the boring person he is, just gives her an explanation to her question and then leaves. Come on, man, have a little fun. In the story, no food is being prepared. Really? Is that true? Interesting. The actual story from the Bible. Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses love taking creative liberties with things, which, in my opinion, they shouldn't do. Follow the Bible exactly, right? If it's really God's word, it shouldn't be changed or morphed or added to or subtracted from in any way, shape, or form. Doesn't the Bible itself say that? Don't add to or subtract from it? Here we sit. I mean, this is Jehovah's Witnesses' MO. They do this all the time.
Wait. Let me get this straight. He wanted you and Mary to sit and learn about God just like the men?
That's a big deal. I think at the time, everybody was segregated between men and women.
A teacher instructing women? A woman's job is to provide food for her household.
That's true. A good woman prepares herself for hard work. That's valuable. That's you, Martha. Don't let this Jesus ruin you with his ideas.
Well, his ideas were very contradictory to what the Bible at the time, the Jewish Bible, had to say. Completely contradictory. Two different gods entirely, basically. The God of the Old Testament was all about war and hate and fighting and genocide and taking what's theirs and all this other stuff. And Jesus was all about love and happiness and all of that. It's like it was written for two different gods. She's sad.
Lazarus!
So Lazarus is dying, right? And this is the story of where he's resurrected, I guess.
So kind of you.
How is he doing?
Not well. I sent word to Jesus. He will help my brother.
You sent word to Jesus? Have you still not heard? He's angering people with his shocking speech. He's claiming to be God's son.
See, this is why religious freedom is so valuable and important. I don't care who he's angering. I think that people should be allowed to say what they want by and large. I think we should counter that vehemently, but for the most part, I don't think that people should be banned like this.
He's crazy.
He's loyal to Jehovah, and he is our friend.
Sadly, Lazarus died. But do you remember what happened next?
Jesus came back to Bethany and resurrected Lazarus.
Jesus was a real friend. He cared about Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. And he showed them what kind of friend Jehovah can be to us.
But that's not where the story ends. Do you know what some people did after that?
This is the important part right here. This is the part that they were building up to this whole time. What did people do after that? She saw that he performed a real full-blown miracle, resurrecting somebody, and in retaliation for doing something good for somebody, apparently, she turned them in. That means don't be friends with outsiders, no matter what, because they're all bad, and they will all turn you in and hate you and destroy your life any way they can.
Many of the Jews who saw what he did put faith in him, but some of them went off to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Why did they do that?
Because not even seeing Jesus bring someone back to life was enough to convince them that he was the Christ.
No, that would be enough. That'd be enough for me and anybody on planet Earth. Just bring somebody back to life right in front of me, verified through medical evidence and everything, and you've got believers like that. Suddenly, you have a brand new group of people that buy everything you're selling. Is it weird to anybody else? We've never seen an evidence of that. Ever. Not once. I'll take anything. Yeah, they're upset he performed a miracle. Oh, he can't be the Son of God because he performed a miracle. That checks out totally.
To convince them that he was the Christ.
They seemed like Martha's friends, but they hated Jesus.
How do you think Martha dealt with her unbelieving friends?
Dude, she's got a wild hair bump right in the front. That is one hell of a haircut right there.
Jesus is the Christ, the resurrection and the life. He is the Son of God. And he is my friend.
Dude, I gotta be honest. I actually do like this haircut right here, though. Pulled out to the side with like a band on it and everything. That's pretty metal.
Friend. Talia, you've been kind to me in the past, but you don't believe Jesus' teachings. We cannot be friends.
You catch that? You don't believe Jesus' teachings. We cannot be friends. That's the bottom line. Doesn't matter if she's nice to her. Doesn't matter if she accepts her for who she is. Doesn't matter if she turns her in or any of that. That phrase is what really matters right there.
Talia, you've been kind to me in the past, but you don't believe Jesus' teachings. We cannot be friends.
And I'm not saying that with no basis. Okay, this is how Jehovah's Witnesses act. This is what they do. I know, it's happened to me. Not only did my parents walk away from me completely the moment that I started questioning the religion, or I didn't even question it at first. I got disfellowshipped for smoking a cigarette, one cigarette, and they disfellowshipped me for that. They said they didn't believe that I was repentant, even though I said that I was. And from that moment forward, I didn't have a relationship with my mom or really my dad for the rest of my life. My dad died without having a relationship with me, although that was for slightly other reasons. But my mom will die without ever having another relationship with me. Haven't had a relationship with her in 15 years at least now. And I wasn't adversarial to the religion. I didn't say, like, I don't like it, I hate it, I think it's wrong, and I want you to leave. I didn't say any of that. I didn't turn her in to Pharisees or police or anybody. I just didn't believe it. And it wasn't just my parents either. That was probably the hardest hitting part, but it was not just them. It was everybody I ever knew or loved growing up. Every one of those 140 or so Jehovah's Witnesses that were in my congregation that knew me since I was 8 years old, who bought school supplies for me when my parents were too broke to pay for them themselves, when they bought me boxes of crayons and backpacks and filled our cupboards with food because we couldn't get it ourselves, those people are the ones that walked away from me. And they're the ones that my mom chose over her own kids. Jehovah's Witnesses want to conflate what happened to me and what they expect their current members to do with what's happening in this scene right here. Completely different. So she's the one ending the relationship here. Jehovah's Witnesses like to flip it on you. My mom says I ended their relationship by not being in the religion. No, I'm open. Let's do it. Let's have a relationship right now. And call me any moment. Talk to me. All you got to do. In all seriousness, I actually did end the relationship after 15 years of this. Just last year, I told my mom I was done. After seeing her at a funeral of a family member and dealing with a lot of things surrounding that, which I've talked about on my channel, I said, I don't even care if you want to be a part of my life anymore, which she didn't anyways. I don't want to be a part of your life anymore because she's so toxic. When Jehovah's Witnesses cut you off, commonly, they will either say absolutely nothing to you until the day you die, or they will be toxic and passive-aggressive and hateful anytime they have to interact with you, when they're forced to interact because, you know, a close family member is on their deathbed or something. Don't let them flip it around.
Martha stuck with Jesus and his friends. They helped her become Jehovah's friend.
By the way, I just want to put it on record. They've said it a few times. God's name is not Jehovah. It's Yahweh. I have a short video about it on my main channel if you want to check it out here.
So, Sophia, what do you think Jehovah is teaching you about friendship?
He's not teaching her anything about friendship. This is what Jehovah's Witnesses are teaching about friendship. There's a dramatic distinction to be found here. Jehovah's Witnesses have their doctrine built out in their head that's built on sand, and they will push that doctrine to their dying breath. They're not teaching the Bible. They are teaching the Watchtower and the Awake and the whatever, all of their religious books that they've published. Jehovah's Witnesses have no understanding of the Bible, seemingly. And what's more, they have their own translation of the Bible, which has words changed here and there to modify what it originally meant. It is not a trustworthy version of the Bible. So they're not even studying what the original text said. They're studying what Jehovah's Witnesses want you to believe the original text said. You know, there's one verse, since we're talking about this, there's one verse in the Bible that talks about shunning, primarily. And it's in the book of Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, right? Here's the context. Paul didn't know Jesus, but he considered himself an apostle after Jesus died. Paul was trying to set up the new Christian church and wrote a letter to the Corinthian congregation in Corinth. I think it was in Greece, maybe. Yeah. Okay, so it's in southern Greece, it appears. Near Athens, it looks like. Yeah, near Athens. So, leading up to this, the Corinthian congregation said there's this guy who did something bad. I don't remember what it was. Slept with his sister or something. And it looked really, really bad on the religion. Like, oh my God, this dude's sleeping with his sister. Now we know that's what, Christians do. They all sleep with their sisters, right? And it looked really, really terrible. So they told Paul what was happening. And what did Paul do? Paul wrote a letter, his first letter to the Corinthians. 1 Corinthians. And he said, excise him from the congregation. Don't even dine with him. Don't talk to him. Cut him out completely. So they did that for a little while, and then they wrote a letter back to him and said, this is really messed up, man. This guy, nobody deserves this. This is causing undue suffering, the likes of which you've never seen. This is horrific, and it's making us look even worse to shun our friends and family members like this who break the rules, especially when there's so many rules to break. So Paul writes back, second letter to the Corinthians, and he says, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. Just forget it. Bring him back in. There's no reason to cause undue sadness or hardship. And just like that, shunning was undone. It was established as church doctrine for all of 5 minutes. And then it was undone just like that with the very next letter to the Corinthian congregation. Jehovah's Witnesses take that first verse in 1 Corinthians that says, shun people, don't even dine with such a man, and they use that as evidence that that's what you should be doing. Shun everybody from here to Texas if that's what it takes. Separate yourself from everybody. Only Jehovah's Witnesses should be friends, and if they break the religion, or if they break any of the rules, cut them out permanently for the rest of their lives. So Jehovah's Witnesses' interpretation of what happened is bastardized and warped out of proportion. That is not representative of what Paul, as the person trying to establish the first Christian church, intended or wanted, ultimately. Now, somebody asked me what Jehovah's Witnesses' rules are about talking to apostates and getting disfellowshipped. It gets pretty wild, and we'll hit that in just a second. Let's just finish this clip real quick.
That I have to choose my friends carefully.
And how can you know if someone should be your friend?
If they love Jehovah, right?
If they help me be Jehovah's friend.
Close enough.
I am not going to join the club.
That's my girl.
We are so proud of you, Sophia.
And Jehovah is proud of you too.
This is wild, man. There's nothing wrong with being a part of a school club. There's not anything wrong with playing sports in school or whatever, or playing football or chess or any of that stuff. And there's no basis for that in the Bible whatsoever. And the fact that they're pushing the idea that there's a basis for it clearly tells me they're trying everything that they can to prevent members from leaving, whatever it takes.
Now, how about you go finish up your homework? Mom tells me we have a guest coming over.
Okay.
And remember, all guests are Jehovah's Witnesses. Unless it's CPS. On occasion in my young life, we had a guest that was from CPS.
Jehovah, please help me find a good friend. Someone who loves you.
This is sad, man.
At least you are my friend.
Sophia! Lydia is here.
Our talk.
Okay, this is propaganda, and as such, every frame in it is here for a specific reason. Now, why did Lydia come over? Was it to hang out with Sophia, make her feel better about being so deeply alone, for having an empty feeling inside because nobody else is around? That's not why they brought Lydia over. It was to study Jehovah's Witness material together and prepare to do Jehovah's Witness related things. When you're with friends, that should really be the main focus.
You like turtles?
I love turtles.
Really?
This is so cringy and painful. She's like, what, 6, 7 years older than her. That's a big difference at that age.
I've got something I want to show you.
He is so cute.
You know, Sophia, I think we're going to be friends. Yep, definitely friends.
The end. I guess they're just looking at the turtle. Anyways, so I want to talk about what happens if you talk to disfellowshipped people. The way Jehovah's Witnesses treat disfellowshipped people, which, again, disfellowshipped just means you did something wrong, and the elders believe that you are not repentant, i.e., even if you say, I'm sorry I did this, it was a mistake, it was a moment of weakness, I really want to reverse course and fix this, it's irrelevant. If the elders don't believe you or whatever, even though you're the one saying it, then they're going to cut you out of everybody's life. Now, here's what happens with disfellowshipped people. They permanently remove you in every way. They pull the rug out from under you with the intent to watch you fall on your face as a lesson to everybody else in the congregation. This is what happens to people inside the religion who make a mistake. They fall on their face. We will make sure of that. They make an example out of everybody. People that I've known and loved my entire life will cut me off the moment my name is mentioned as somebody who's been disfellowshipped from the lectern. Hell, they'll start shunning me before that. If they think some wrongdoing occurred, they'll start doing preemptive shunning. And what gets even worse, I mean, this happened to me in 11th grade. I was cut out completely, 11th grade, had nobody, had nothing, had to crawl in the window of a girl's house that I knew from school when her grandparents were home. They didn't have any idea I was even there. She's bringing food back for me to eat in her bedroom. I was pissing in Gatorade bottles. That's what they do. They don't care. They want you to fall flat on your face. That's how Jehovah's Witnesses are treated when they leave. No matter what the circumstances under which you've left. Maybe you just don't feel like going anymore. Maybe you don't believe it anymore. Maybe you committed some sin and you feel bad about it, like I did, smoking a cigarette, and I went to a high school party is what it was, and there were cigarettes there. So I smoked a cigarette, and I admitted it to the elders. I told them what I did. There were some other people in the congregation who told them that they knew that I was up to some nefarious stuff. Eventually they asked, and I just told them. I was in 11th grade, technically not a minor, just barely. 18th birthday, I was kicked out of my mom's house. So what happens if you're under 18? They encourage children to get baptized as young as 8 or 7 even. I think the average age is most likely somewhere around 12 or 13. Probably the same as Catholic confirmation age, roughly. But it's not uncommon to get baptized today. They want kids getting as baptized as young as humanly possible. And that baptism constitutes a verbal contract between you and this organization. Not enforceable, but they do consider it a contract. You swear your life to the, to furthering the goals of this organization forever. When you get baptized, they ask you 2 questions. The questions have changed over time, but here are a couple of examples. 1, have you repented of your sins, dedicated yourself to Jehovah, and accepted his way of salvation through Jesus Christ? Like Christ is his last name. Christ, first name Jesus? Number 2, do you understand that your baptism identifies you as one of Jehovah's Witnesses in association with Jehovah's organization? And by saying yes to those 2 questions, you have effectively signed a verbal contract with this organization, even as young as 8 years old. Can't get a tattoo, can't get married, but you can sign a verbal contract with this organization that will have lifelong ramifications. 8 years old. You change your mind over the course of the next 80 years, you'll lose everything and everybody you ever loved. So what happens to minors when they get disfellowshipped? Let's say you get a girlfriend at school in 6th, 7th grade. How old are people in 7th grade? 11, 12, somewhere in there. So you get a girlfriend at that age, and you kiss her. This is on jwfacts.com. They cover the official doctrine, and they cite their sources here. Jehovah's Witnesses baptize minors, which is disturbing, considering baptized minors can be disfellowshipped and shunned. There are enough disfellowshipped children to warrant a 2013 Questions from Readers article discussing the topic, would it be appropriate for Christian parents to sit with a disfellowshipped child at a congregation meeting? The following quotes go into further detail on disfellowshipping and shunning minors. This is from Pay Attention to Yourself and All of the Flock, page 98. Quote, when a baptized minor becomes involved in wrongdoing that threatens the cleanness of the congregation, like getting a girlfriend at school or something, or just being gay, that can do it. The assigned committee should meet with such individual just as they would with any other member of the congregation. If your child is unrepentant and a baptized Christian, he may receive the strongest form of discipline, being disfellowshipped from the congregation. The extent of contact that you will have with him then depends on his age and other circumstances. Here's the bottom line. If your kid is not capable of supporting themselves on their own, say 10, 8, 10, 12, and you can't give them to another family member so that they're not in your house anymore, which would be the preferable and first option, then you should have absolutely zero contact with them in the house as when it comes to like religious information, like no religious talk whatsoever. They should live in the house and you should care for their needs, but only in the most basic sense. They can't eat at the table with you. They can't talk about religion. In fact, honestly, any talk at all is discouraged. Limit your conversation as much as possible. Preferably just get them out. Get them out of the house, even at 10. You may want to conduct Bible study with him involving his direct participation. You can draw his attention to various scriptures and to the publications provided by the faithful and discreet slave. That would be the man of the house, because he's the spiritual head. You can also take the child with you to Christian meetings and have him sit with you. Oh, that's nice. You can sit with the kid, apparently. All this can be done in hopes that he will take spiritual counsel to heart. The situation is different if the disfellowshipped one is not a minor and is living away from home. The Apostle Paul admonished Christians in ancient Corinth. Yeah, this is the Corinthian congregation thing I was referring to. It's the first letter to the Corinthian congregation. Dude's sleeping with his sister, I think, or something like that. And he said, quit mixing in the company with anyone called a brother that is a fornicator or a greedy person or an idolater or a reviler, so on and so forth. Don't even dine with such a man. While caring for necessary family matters may require some contact with the disfellowshipped person, such as a family member died and they're in the will, so you need to contact them to tell them what they get out of the will or whatever. That's an example. Or maybe you're arranging the funeral or they're arranging the funeral and you have to work with each other. That's like a one-off case of it being okay for you to communicate strictly about that situation. Caring for necessary family matters may require some contact with them, like that. A Christian parent should strive to avoid needless association. When an erring child is disciplined by Christian shepherds, it would be unwise if you were to reject or minimize their Bible-based action. Siding with your rebellious child would not be providing any real protection from the devil. Actually, you'd be endangering your own spiritual health. On the other hand, by supporting the efforts of the shepherds, you will remain solid in the faith that will provide the best help for your child. Watchtower 2007, January 15th, page 20, remaining steadfast when a child rebels. And to make matters even worse, Jehovah's Witnesses have a long storied history of changing their articles, telling their people to burn old literature that they have lying around and only access it online, and then they changed the online version of it to say something that it didn't originally say. So I don't trust a single source from Jehovah's Witnesses. But they famously referred to disfellowshipped people as mentally diseased. So that kid that just got disfellowshipped for getting a girlfriend at school, not only are they troubled or rebellious, they're also mentally diseased. This is the kind of dehumanizing language that leads to really horrific behavior. This article is from independent.co.uk or .co.uk as I prefer. The official magazine for Jehovah's Witnesses has described those who leave the church as mentally diseased, prompting an outcry from former members and insiders concerned about the shunning of those who question official doctrine. This happened in 2009, I believe, and this article was written Tuesday, 27th September 2011. And this is actually the basis for why Russia banned Jehovah's Witnesses within the religion, because they were being compelled to belong to an organization, which is actually a violation of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. Russia made the right assessment, but the wrong call. They shouldn't have banned a religion like that, I don't think. It's complicated. Anyway, an article published in July's edition of the Watchtower, maybe it was 2011, I thought it was 2009, warns followers to stay clear of false teachers who are condemned as being mentally diseased apostates who should be avoided at all costs. This is a quote, suppose that a doctor told you to avoid contact with someone who is infected with a contagious, deadly disease. The article reads, you should know what the doctor means, and you would strictly heed his warning. Well, apostates are mentally diseased, and they seek to infect others with their disloyal teachings. A copy of the magazine, distributed by Jehovah's Witnesses around the world, was given to the Independent by a current member of the church who has become unhappy with official teaching but is afraid to leave for fear of losing his family. Many, like me, remain associated with the Witnesses out of fear of being uncovered as an apostate and ousted, not just from the organization, but from their own friends and families, said the man, who would only give the name John. I find I am now branded as mentally diseased, giving any who discover my true beliefs free license to treat me with disdain. So Jehovah's Witnesses specifically instruct people to view anybody who is not actively a part of the religion as mentally diseased. With that knowledge in mind, it should put these Caleb and Sophia videos into context for you. Does it get more grotesque than this? Does it get more sad and truly disgusting than this for these children? Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments. I think it's awful. As somebody who experienced it myself, I think it's disgusting.